Hi there, it's David Young, the Resourceful Coach, and what we're going to talk about today is your grip pressure and how important it is when you hold the club, how hard you're gripping that club, and how it'll affect the shot as you play through the shots. I'm going to do this showing through 3 different clubs today. We're going to look at sort of the general iron shot, we'll look at something a little bit lighter, maybe golf club like a hybrid type club, and then we'll talk about a putter. And it's important to understand that we want to get as many consistency as we can with how hard you're gripping that club. But you might be shocked out of those 3 clubs, which I actually grip the hardest. So let's talk about the grip pressure. Now, why is grip pressure so important? For me, it sort of senses where you're holding the club and also how you can then start to generate power. So for me, the biggest thing when I play around a golf, if my hands feel good on the club and it feels like I'm holding it, 1, the right position, and then 2, the right pressure, they're the days I have the best rounds of golf, because I now feel I can achieve the speed and the feeling of the club head throughout the shot. So let's start with the grip itself. If we look at it, and you just look at it logically, if you touch something, you're naturally going to touch something more with your fingers. So this is the first thing I want you to do. When you hold a golf club, feel very much you're holding the club in the fingers, not into the palm of the hand. The palm of the hand is a much stronger position, but it's got no feel, and actually we'll show you today, if you're gripping in the palm of your hand, you're going to lose power. Okay, you're going to lose feel to what you're doing, and that will make it very difficult to get consistency in your game. So how I hold a club, I always think, right, when I hold it, it's my fingers that are gripping it, my thumbs and palms just come on to really add security that I'm not going to let go of the golf club. But I want to feel very much through my fingers is when I hold the golf club, I want to run the club very much through both hands, very similar idea. I'm going to grip it through the middle joint of my forefinger, running across more the base of my fingers. And with my left hand, which is going to go at the top of the club because I'm a right-handed golfer, you can see like a crease here underneath my little finger. And I want to run the club into that position. And what that allows me to do now is this part of my hand is going to sit on top of the club. So it looks much more into that position. And what I see a lot of golfers do, they're gripping it in there. Now here's our first error. As soon as I do that, my grip pressure now becomes very inconsistent across my fingers. I don't actually feel like I'm gripping at all my little finger, because you can see I've got a gap here. Look, I can put a finger in there. So he's doing nothing. So he might as well not bother being on the club. And then these 2 fingers are starting to strangle the club because they're making up for him not doing his job. So the more I get that into that correct position, I now take the pressure across those 3 fingers. Now, depending on how you then join your hands together, I interlock my fingers, start the game at a very young age, small hands, I interlock. And what's quite important here is what I call half interlock. Don't jam the finger right in there, grip it so you're halfway. And what that gives you now is this nice channel again through the middle joint of the finger there, across the base for the club to run through your fingers. And what I'm sensing now is that club is much more in my fingers. I'm using the palm and the thumb to come onto the club to add security, that it's not going to slip out of my hands. So here's a word that really scares me. Okay, I hear this word. You've got to grip the club loosely. Wow. Okay, if you suddenly grip the club loosely, that suggests it's loose. It's going to move in your hands. So the first word I want you to think of is when you initially grip the club, you must grip the golf club securely. It feels like you've got secure hold of the club. But here's the key bit. Once you've got that security, is feel the fingers are securely holding up. It's not going to twist in your hands, but the muscles around it are relaxed. And the key muscles that we're looking for from there are running up through your wrists, forearm, elbows, up into your shoulders, that's all nice and relaxed. And that's really important when you're playing something like an iron. We want to feel the weight of the club head. Out of the clubs we're going to talk about today, your irons are the most consistent throughout the set to feel the weight of the club head. That shouldn't change if you're using a 5 iron all the way down really to a pitching wedge. They're all going to feel a similar weight. So you want to sense that weight, grip the club. So here's a good little exercise, okay? And all you're going to do is you're going to look at the very tip of the 7 iron, okay? And what you're going to do in a minute is you're going to draw in your mind, just using that in the sky, the smallest figure of 8 you can. Okay, so you look at it and just draw the smallest figure of 8. Now, if you're gripping that club like it's the last club in the world, you're gripping it too tight, that 8 will look like this because you've got no feel. If you get it right, you should be able to make that sort of picture of the 8 in your eye. Initially, it shouldn't be more than the size of the club head, but as you do it more, you should be able to make that at least half the size of the club head. Make it small. Feel what you're doing. You can see that it doesn't look like I'm hardly moving it, but I'm making that little figure of 8 in the sky. Don't want this feeling that it's doing this, okay, because that suggests you're gripping the club tight and you've got no feel for the club. Now, what that's going to cause as a problem in the swing, if you're gripping that club too tight, is you're not going to get good wrist cock, and you're not going to get good release of that wrist cock as it comes down, because the wrist will be rigid as you get to here, so there's no power, and then you're going to try and muscle it. And all that tension is going to create a big issue in your swing. So we're really working hard on feeling that club, okay? Get rid of the word loose. That's not a good word. Everything about what we're doing today is to get security, but feel the club. Waggle it around a bit. You often see players, they look like they're waggling the club. They're feeling the sense of the club head and sensing where that is. So let's look at 3 different clubs, okay? We're going to look at, I've got a 7-iron here, and as I go through these clubs, I don't really change my pressure that much, but it will change very, very slightly. So my 7-iron is sort of the middle club in a set of clubs, and weight-wise, it's sort of the middle weight of all my clubs. So I grip that securely, but as I said, secure feeling, but light. Okay, I can sense the weight of that club head. Now, let's go to the longer club. Okay, what do? Let's change. I've got a hybrid here. Now, here's the first error golfers do. As soon as they think of power, they grip the club harder. But here's the important thing. This club is lighter than the 7-iron. So how am I going to feel the weight of that club head? So again, I'm going to do my same little exercise. I'm just going to feel from there with this, just that little figure of 8. Now, if I grip it tight, it gets rigid. It doesn't feel so easy to do. Just look at that, make that little figure of 8, grip it lightly, feel as you swing back. You can sense the weight of the club head. You can feel the weight of the club head. So because it's lighter, that's my average grip. I go slightly, average with my 7-iron. When I go to my hybrid, I grip it a little bit lighter because I want to feel that. I'm still in control. We're not using this word loose. We're gripping it with control, security, but I feel if anything, it's a little bit lighter. And because I'm lighter, the muscles become freer. And guess what? You're going to get more speed. You're going to get more power. So really find that. And this is what I would say to most golfers. If you're struggling to get the lightness with your iron, practice a little bit more with, say, a hybrid and work on that feeling. When you pick the iron back up, it will feel heavy. Okay? But here's an extra little exercise you can do. Working on that pressure, working on our little figure of 8 idea. Turn the club around. There's no weight in here, or very little weight compared to the club head. And grip it in a way where you can make that little figure of 8. If you're gripping it tight, again, because it's so light, it will actually feel way out of control. Okay, so little figure of 8 in the air. Make it, if you can, make it about the size of a golf ball. Top of the figure of 8 to the bottom of the figure of 8. You're doing that, your grip pressure's good. Now, here's the surprising thing. Our third club we're going to look at, and you're all told to grip this the lightest. Your putter is the club I grip the hardest. Now, people will be going, wow, you can't do that. I want to feel the weight. But this is heavier than the other clubs. Okay? And I don't need speed now. Now what I need is control. I need feel for what I'm doing. Now, I'm not saying I'm strangling the club. If we grip a club, say 10 out of 10 for being, ultimately it feels like the blood's going to come out of your fingers, I'm gripping probably my 7-iron around about a 5 or 6. I'm gripping my hybrid around a 4 or 5. I'm gripping this now around about a 7. And the reason why I do this is because I want to feel through my swing or through my stroke, I want to feel consistency. For me, I want to feel consistency through my arms and the club as I go through. I don't want to feel the club getting loose at the bottom. I see a lot of people putt and it's moving around the putter at the bottom because they're told this is the club you've got to grip the lightest. Remember, I'm not gripping it like I'm strangling it, but it is the club I grip slightly the firmest because I only need to hit this. Probably on average, my first putt is going to be 30 feet. I want to hit my hybrid 200 yards. So that grip pressure is really important. All I'd say is just go to the practice putting green and think about, if you gave it a mark out of 10, do you feel in control? Does that club feel loose in your hands? Grip it firm enough that that isn't the case. And just mentally give yourself a number. And if it's a 6 out of 10, just have a few putts where you think it's a 7. and just see what happens. Okay, have you got a little bit more control? Has it really lost you the feel of what you're doing? I won't think it will. I think you'll generate the sensation correct as you go through the shot. But that grip is so important. So that grip pressure is right. In all the clubs that you're doing, when you're looking for power, i.e. irons, woods, grip it securely, but feel the muscles around it, the wrists, the arms, everything's very relaxed. When you look at the top players, if you look at somebody like DeChambeau, it's probably going down the ideas I'm saying. When he stands to a putt, it looks the most rigid of all his shots. As he gets to something like a driver, it's slightly going the other way. So he's thinking power, lighter. I don't need some power. I can be a little bit firmer. But again, we're not gripping it to create excessive tension. We're gripping it in a way to feel the result you want. Now, we're just going to do one final thing. It's actually a video I've already done. Okay, we're going to go back to the iron, and this is where it's really important. If your grip isn't, let's say, called a neutral grip, you can look at this tip, and it's just a 2-minute tip, making sure you're checking that club face is correct. And we're just going to go through it again very, very quickly. If you grip the club wrong and then you relax, what will happen is your muscles will go into the right place, but it will show the relationship between your hands and the club is incorrect. So what you can do now is, if you see that incorrect, keep, as I'm doing here, keep your left hand in the same position, just bring it back, take your grip there, and all we did in that exercise, we just shut our eyes, relaxed, brought it back, and if that leading edge is now pointing straight up, that shows the grip, number one, is correct. Number two, you're now getting the right grip pressure. And if I was holding the club and I relax, and I get golfers to do this in the lessons, if you're gripping it incorrect and we actually relax, it's going to show what that grip is going to create for you. So that position there would create a big hook. Okay, the guy hits it and I always hook it. And then what are you going to do? You're going to try and compensate it. So go to the practice ground. This is a great way to find out if your grip is good or not. Your grip pressure is everything. As I said right at the start of the lesson, start of this video, if I feel good in my hands and the relationship between me and the club is good, I generally have a good day. Have a little think to yourself. When you play well, is that the case? If it is, see if you can get that feeling more often, and you'll see the consistency come into your game. So I hope you enjoyed that tip. It's all about getting your hands on that club in the right pressure. If you're gripping it wrong, it's going to make it very, very difficult to get any consistency to your shots. If that's changing all the time, anything can happen.